The Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by Mid Carolina Service Company.
Mid Carolina Service Company is the first name to search for your residential or commercial HVAC needs in Lexington and surrounding areas.
Just go holler at Jason and Clint. They'll hook you up on the air conditioners, on the restaurant equipment, refrigerators, refrigeration, ice machine repair. They've been doing this for years. I know them cats forever.
Family owned and operated since 2006, they pride themselves in their quality work and customer relationships. Call 803-356-4153 or visit midcarolinaserviceco.com for a no obligation quote for service today.
The Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by True Brilliance Entertainment.
True Brilliance is a production, promotions, and management company dedicated to connecting artists and producers across the Carolinas to music industry professionals.
Several of their clients have placements both domestic and internationally as a result of their services.
Are you an artist or producer looking to build meaningful relationships within the music industry? Then True Brilliance is for you. Check them out at paramilitary.com. That's spelled P-A-I-R-A military.com.
This episode of the Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by Bob's. Bob's is a Columbia-based retailer of over 100 Black-owned products from 20 Black-owned businesses. Bob's offers a wide range of items from household cleaning, cosmetics, and everything in between. With every visit to Bob's, you support Black-owned businesses, giving them the opportunity to grow and establish connections with our community. Bob's is located inside the Noma warehouse at 2222 Sumter Street in Columbia, South Carolina. Visit their website, weshopbobs.com for in-store pickup or to find out more. Bob's can also be found via social media on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at weshopbobs. When you stop by, tell them the Hilltop Glove sent you. Bob's brings quality Black brands to the Columbia community. The Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by Red Rooster Sports Bar and Grill. Red Rooster is your neighborhood bar and grill serving the best wings, burgers, and baskets in the Met.
Like the amazing food, the bar is always on tap, and there's plenty of screens to watch the big game. Red Rooster is the Midland's premier meetup spot for local car and bike clubs, fraternities, and sororities.
Staff is dedicated to accommodating all kinds of parties and events. If you're looking to catch a game, have a bite, and a drink, look no further than the Red Rooster.
Red Rooster is located at 7500 Wilson Boulevard, Columbia, South Carolina. For more information, visit redroostersportsbar.com or visit them on Facebook and Instagram at Red Rooster Sports Bar. Go where the winners go.
Welcome to the Hilltop Glove Podcast.
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 Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Hilltop Glove Podcast. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Richard Sadler. Richard and his wife, Talisa, are the owners of Raising Zane. It's a streetwear label aimed at cultivating and celebrating the image of modern fatherhood. As parents, we know that every child not only needs their mom, but their dad as well, or someone to step in and fill that void. They want to help fathers become better fathers and provide resources to children around the world that find themselves in fatherless homes or homes where the father takes a backseat role in raising the child at no fault of their own. Thank you for joining us here today, Richard. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm doing well. I'm doing pretty good. A little tired, these kids, man, they run you ragged.
Sunday morning.
Yeah, exactly. We got
we were just talking about this earlier too. What time your kids wake up in the morning, man?
Look, man, my son, the 2-year-old, this guy gets us up before 6 every morning.
Yes, sir. That's my son too.
Good Lord, he don't want to see the dark. They hate the dark.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, man. I know I'm not a father. I don't have no children yet, but I watch all the people with the children, and I do see how much of a job and investment of energy and love that it actually is to be in that role. And the easiest way to start this, as we always do, is just asking you if you could explain yourself to our audience so they can get to know about who you are, your upbringing, how your childhood was, and what influenced you to get to where you are now.
Word. Yeah, I'll be more than happy to do that. I mean, like I tell anybody, first off, what I like to say is I'm a man of God first, I'm a husband second, father third. By day, I work in tech. So, I'm that guy that I guess you could say was when I was in college, I was a little bit of a nerd on the inside. So yeah. So that's what I do to pay the bills. But I just love spending time with my family. My wife, Talisa, look, man, y'all, I know this is about fatherhood, but my wife, that's my rib.
There you go. You gotta have balance, brother. You gotta have balance.
I gotta have it, without any of it. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without her. So yeah, but like growing up, I'm originally from Walterboro, South Carolina. So little town pretty close to Charleston.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so I grew up there, spent the majority of my life there, man. And, graduated high school from there, went on to college at Carolina. So I'm a Gamecock fan, even though that loss yesterday still has me hurt.
They kicked us down on the ground and spit on us, man.
Yes, they did. They did. But went to Carolina, did undergrad there. That's where I met my beautiful wife. I took her through the ringer over and over and over and over again. That's another story for another day. But, we eventually got married, and now we have our two beautiful children.
Excellent. And question, growing up in Walterboro, how was it as a young Black man in Walterboro?
I mean, to be fully transparent, it was different.
Yeah,
it was different, because my high school was, not a lot of Black people in Walterboro, but that's still, they don't call it the front porch of the Low Country for no reason.
I kept hearing that. I kept seeing it when I was driving down there.
Yeah. So it was a little different. And, I grew up playing baseball. So that made it even more, difficult, because here I am, a young Black kid playing the sport that, a lot of them didn't want to see us playing, quite frankly. So it was difficult at times, but I will say, there are some wonderful, Caucasian people there, like people that would look out for me growing up before my own. Man, it was crazy. Like one of the most influential guys that I can think of, he's no longer in Walterboro at this point in time. He's out in Texas, was a coach that I had playing baseball, and he pretty much took me under his wing. Like everywhere his family went, I was there, so it was it's a beautiful experience. But I will say, living there, it helped shape me into who I am today.
Yeah.
I love home. We could always afford to be better and grow, but I still love that place. Home is where the heart is. So,
man, you got such a peaceful countenance, man. I'm telling you, man, I like, I already like your energy, right? And I can tell that the effect of where you were raised, it has a bearing on that. And man, that is a positive way to see that situation. Go ahead, Tamaya.
So, I recently read your blog post about I wasn't thrilled to become a dad. So I found it very interesting, but can you tell us more about your journey to becoming a father and also the challenging moments that you faced during fatherhood?
Oh, absolutely. And I hope my wife doesn't kill me while I put it out there in a blog post, so she'll be all right. But yeah, so my wife and I, we got married in December of 2015. So we were planning this big wedding that we were going to have in September of 2016. But where we came from, we didn't come from a whole lot of money and things of that nature. And quite frankly, I got tired of seeing my wife struggle. And I got to the point where it's man, I can make sure that she's straight. If we're married, I can make sure she's good. So we, plus it was if something happened, could I see myself living my life without her, or having not been married to her? So it's you know what? Let's just get married. But so we went ahead, we got married in December. And this is another story for another day. But I got married, didn't even tell my family, y'all. So
did they alone?
Yes,
that's the best way.
Didn't even tell my family. So we told my wife's family, of course, which that only made it worse when it all came out.
Yeah.
But we got married, and then we were married like 3 months, and we moved in together. We were married 3 months, and then my wife comes to me and she's like, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, what? It's like, this was not in the plan. Like, this can't happen. Because I had already had for a long time this map of what I wanted my life and our life to look like together. And I was like, look, we got to get 5 years in the game before this happens. There are some things I need to do. So when she told me, like, I was, how a lot of people, they're excited when they're expecting their first child. I was livid. We're sitting in our 2-bedroom apartment at that point in time, and the puppy's running around, doesn't know what's going on. But like, I'm just sitting there like in utter shock. And I was angry. And, it did come off as me like being upset with her when, obviously it's not her fault. So, but we didn't talk. Well, I didn't talk to her for like 2 weeks straight after I found that out. Like I got deep into my feelings and my emotions, and it was just like, man, I'm not ready to be a dad. Like, I grew up without my dad. Like, I kind of think I know what it might look like to be someone's father, but I'm not ready for this. Like, there's the financial aspect to this too that I'm still nailing down, and it's just like, I wanted my 5 years with my wife, and it's like, nah, I can't get that. Now I got to get ready for this child before I wanted to. So mean is an understatement of how I treated my wife. Like, that, it was so bad. I made sure like the roof and the groceries and everything else was taken care of. But as far as communication in the home, there was none of it. I was evil.
I was honest though.
I'm gonna go to bat for you here for a second now, because this is something I've had to come to terms with too. Is that like growing up, I feel like the predominant thing that we're at least exposed to or taught, or however you want to put it, the cultural thing is that anger is one of the only few powerful emotions that you are allowed to have and still maintain like this masculine form. You know what I'm saying?
That's very true.
And so
That's
we end up being boxed into that hole on a lot of stuff, and finding out that you're going to be a father and not being prepared for it. And, like, there's a lot of fucking chemical shit going on there in your brain. And the only way that we have been taught to let it out is to be a dick.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, you're right on that. You're right on that.
Or maybe I'm just trying to make excuses for myself. But
no, there's a reality to that. Like, you're right. Like, that's something that is taught. Like, how, I'll put it like this. I've never, and this is sad to say this, I haven't seen anybody else deal with it any other way when they weren't when they weren't ready or prepared. And it's one of those things you really can't prepare for.
Baby, I'm really scared. I'm terrified about my future. Yep. I'm terrified about my abilities to not be able to stand up and do what I need to do. We can't do that. That's showing weakness.
Exactly. Exactly.
Kev, how did you handle it, Kev?
Yeah, Kev.
Oh, man. So now with us, it's a little different situation with us.
Yep.
Because of the fact that, Lisa and I, we were trying for a while to have a kid.
Yep.
And so we had to actually go and actually get assistance. And so for us, it was one of those things where, we finally got a baby.
Yeah.
But I can attest to a lot of what both of you guys are saying is, especially as men, we do, it's like we don't really have a lot of range of emotions. And like in society, we weren't taught that. And if we express those different types of emotions, like you said, we're questioned, and we could even be questioned by our partners too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then I know that's something that a lot of people don't like to talk about, especially when it comes to things like relationships. And women will be like, I love a guy that's sensitive, or I love a guy that's in touch with their feelings.
And until you see us being sensitive, I'm a Cancer, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I was going to ask Richard, what's your sign?
I'm a Virgo.
Yep. See, I'm
There
a
you go.
Virgo. I already knew it when you said you was mean. I said, "Yep, he a Virgo."
I know the
I
Virgos.
am mean, but I
She
already knew
called
when
it.
you said that. When you said you went 2 weeks, I said that's something.
Yo, and what makes it bad is my wife, both my wife and I are Virgos. I started off and she
Lord.
ends it. So,
Y'all be going head to head. Like I can already see it.
oh yeah.
That's crazy. So, like having a newborn, what was the most challenging thing about that?
You know what? There's nothing that can prepare you for having a newborn. You know, we read all
Nothing.
of the books, you know, we listened to parents, all of that. But like, I mean, the lack of sleep, one, my wife will argue, she would probably say, you got sleep because we got a many fights about this. But it's like, look, man, like my wife breastfed. So it's like, well, when she wakes up at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, what you want me to do? What can I do?
Yeah.
You know, like that. She don't want me. So I gotta get up at 7 o'clock and I gotta go to work. So how can I really help you here? But that was probably the toughest thing is like just being able, like understanding that sleep, you're just not gonna get that. And like two, like being a support and help to my wife because you know, when they're that young, what do they really need us for at that point in time?
Mm-hmm.
At least outwardly, yeah. Outwardly, it didn't seem like there was much I could offer her. I mean, even when she cried, like she wants her mom. I can't feed you. I can try, but you don't want it from the bottle. So
Yeah.
Did you, you know, everybody, I don't know if people that don't have kids even know about this, but there's this thing called mommy brain that happens in the third trimester, right before pregnancy, and then right after, where basically all the brain chemicals are flipping around, and you start having memory issues and all that. And then I experienced kind of the same thing that I call daddy brain, and I started talking to some other dudes, and they were like, "Yeah, that first 2 weeks, my shit was just not fucking working." Like, I mean, it literally felt like I was tripping for like 3 days, and then I was just out of my brain for like the next 2 weeks. Like shit just, and I eventually realized it was like the pathways in my brain were rewriting themselves to be like in another spot.
Yeah.
Do you have anything like that going on, man?
You weren't alone. You were not alone. I experienced that with my daughter, and I experienced it again with my son. It was a little easier with my son because I had been there before.
Right.
But I definitely experienced it. I was off at home. I was off at work. I was off with friends everywhere. Even my mom, she's like, "What's going on with you, man? Like, you got to get it together." I'm forgetting stuff. I'm not a very forgetful person. But I was losing my keys. I never lose my keys. Ever.
Wow. Y'all scaring me, man. I don't know if I was.
I don't want to re-traumatize.
No, why y'all do this to me?
Hey, I mean, we letting you know. We letting you know. It's how it goes. So tell me about this. Did you notice any difference between how you felt about having a son versus how you felt about having a daughter?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there definitely was a difference. I mean, like, I'll be honest, once I got over myself and finding out that, you know, we were pregnant with my daughter, look, y'all, and not everybody knows. I might have put it in a blog post, but like when my daughter was born, I cried. My wife was like, "What is going on?" But I lost my mind. Like I couldn't stop crying. And it was like, you know, at that moment, it was like, man, I'm someone's daddy. I'm someone's father. Like this is my princess, and she's going to be a queen one day, and I have to raise her as such. So it was like, when my daughter was born, it was like, now it helped me learn how to love my wife differently, because it was like, yo, some man one day is going to want to marry my daughter, and I need to provide her with the example of what a husband and what a father, what a brother, son should look like. So it reshaped my entire being when I was holding that little 6-pound baby. It was crazy. But when my son was born, I had a totally different experience. Like I didn't cry, obviously, with him. It was like, oh, this joker's here. He came out screaming. My daughter was quiet. He came out screaming. He's 2 now, still screaming. But when I looked at him, it was like, man, now I gotta raise this boy on how to be a man. Like he's going to be responsible for people. Like, that's a tall order. And, you know, I'm looking at myself growing up without my dad in the home. I'm so thankful that my mother realized that she needed to have me around influential males, whether it was my grandfather, my uncles, coaches, godfather. She made sure I had that. It was like, now I have to pull on that. I have to piece this together so I can show this boy what it means to be a man, what it means to lead a family, shepherd a family. Because at the end of the day, I mean, as a husband, as a father, it's all on you. You know, like I tell my wife, the roof over our head, like if stuff doesn't work out, y'all are looking at me like, daddy, husband, what are we going to do?
Right.
You got to figure this out. So it hit a whole different level for me, which is why the brand was born.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
I have a quick question for, you guys who have fathers. So when you're becoming a father, do y'all like have resources or people to help you guys?
You're man, you don't need no resources. You
But
just
I'm just saying, like,
do it.
Exactly.
nobody really prepares y'all. Y'all kind of just get like thrown into the jungle.
Do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's really how it is. I mean, that's how, especially in like the Black African American community. It's like, look, man, like you show no emotion. You just show up and you do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's nothing. You literally go from, it's just me and my wife to now I got this kid. Now, what am I supposed to do? With mothers, like, y'all get 9 months to like get accustomed to this thing. You're feeling all the things. Not us.
Good.
How do y'all feel about that?
Good point.
So, like, all right. So my wife and I, we were not gonna know the sex of our kid, and we were getting the ultrasound or whatever, and then I had to peek. And honestly, like I think I would have felt a lot like easier about a daughter. As soon as I knew that he was going to be a boy, I was terrified. I was crying. I was sneaking off to cry because there's like that. There is something so, I don't even know how to describe it, but they're like the influence of a masculine force is a harsh one, even if it is done in kindness. It is like, like it's that voice that's telling you when everything's falling apart and you in the gutter, bitch, get the fuck up.
Yep.
Do your shit.
Yep.
You know, and it's like I knew that had to be something that I instilled, but also I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to be like unconditional love. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that balance between there, and that's not like my father's always been in my life, and I still can't have that conversation with him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't change anything.
Real talk. That's a very serious question because, yeah, you're thinking about like the way in which you have to rear that child. Are you rearing that like in the way you're thinking about it too is interesting because do you not try to instill that same type of force in in your daughter that you would in your son and vice versa with care? And you know what I'm saying? That's a hard thing to do and to think about. And so, man, I can imagine the amount of stress and trepidation that you all had when figuring out, all right, I'm having this child, cool. And then the role that you're going to have to play in that child's life, like the job, because it is a job. There's a task that goes along with that child coming into the world. Man, that's a very good question. That's something that we're going to have to continue to follow up and build on because no one ever asks these questions about
nobody
guys.
wants to talk about this shit.
They don't.
They don't ask. And then they wonder why there are bad fathers out here or why fatherhood's not like, no one ever asks. Like, no one's doing no case studies on this. We don't have any statistics or data. We don't know how to make it better or what's the issue or the problems in the systems or the procedures that we're doing now that aren't working because no one's tracking this stuff. Man, that's crazy to think about it like that. But
the only advice I ever got from anybody was like, don't leave.
That's it. That's it.
Thanks.
That's the same advice you got.
That's it. Is don't leave and make sure you always provide. That was it.
But they don't tell you how to provide, Richard.
Hey,
No.
like break everything down.
I'm dealing drugs. I'm gonna deal drugs and move. so I can provide. I'm going to do this credit card scheme. And why? Because it's easier. Like, that's what ends up happening. I've seen it all the time. Like, I see it all the time because you do have to provide. You're right. It's
See,
stressful.
my wife got the masters. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
like her earning potential is way more than mine.
Way
is.
more. It's like, go get that money, girl. Go get it. Go. I'm not angry. Look, that's the situation I'm in. She has more education than I do. Her earning potential is higher. So the thing is, like, still, you still have a job to do, though. And that's amazing. That's an amazing question to think about. And Richard, with your brand, they're focused on cultivating that aspect of bringing up fatherhood, not hiding it or diminishing it. Like, what was that? I know you made that decision for a reason, like you were talking about, but man, is there any particular point that you can harp on or that you can explain to us about why you thought it was so relevant for you to do that?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. I mean, like, I got to give credit where credit is due. Like, my wife she's very instrumental in all of this. Because, I mean, like, with our brand, we started with 2 hats, man, our logo hat. And it came out of a place of where we just my son's a pandemic baby. So all we could do is go in the backyard. And we needed a hat to put on him, because he has like severe eczema, all the allergies, all the things this kid has.
Oh.
So, we wanted something to put on his head to go in the backyard, but we're not fans of like.
This portion of the podcast is brought to you by Lynx Recording Studio. Lynx is a premier audio and video recording studio in the greater Charleston area. With 4 completely different booths, multiple peripherals, and 4 producers, they have the ability to service all facets of audio and video creativity. If you need to record a song, a podcast, create a demo, or even take headshots and complete drops for a Hollywood film, we've done it. Call us at 843-879-9386 or search us online at lynxrecordingstudios.com. That's LYNX recordingstudios.com.
Putting cartoon characters on our kid and all that kind of stuff, like, at least not from a hat perspective. I just think it looks a little crazy. If that's your thing, then cool, no problem. Yeah. So we designed the hat, but like, we sat back when we launched the brand, we sat back and we thought about like, well, what point could we really drive home? And my wife was like, well, she's like, you did grow up without your father. I'm like, yeah, my pops left. I was 7, I was 7 years old. Like, and if my dad ever listens to this, Dad, I love you, man. I want you to know that. But he left when I was 7. Literally, it was like my mother went to work one day. She got us ready for school and she went to work. We came back and I ain't seen my dad. I remember the dish that she prepared for him that was just sitting in the microwave. It was spaghetti.
Oh, wow.
Untouched.
You remember that, yeah.
I remember those details. So like, we came back the next day comes around. We go to school thinking Dad is going to come back. And when we get back home, we noticed my dad was real big into music. We would have like Saturday morning jam sessions. So like, he played keyboard and we would get on the electric pad drums. Came home, his keyboard and speakers were gone. We started seeing little traces of him gone every day as we would come back home. And then I got to the point where I was like, yo, like, Dad's not coming back. And then that's when, anger started to take place in me, like resentment, like for a while, like I really did not like my father for a while. But with the brand, what I wanted to do is I wanted to, it came out of that place, man, because like at the age of 7, I remember sitting in the playroom at that point in time. And this was a couple years before my mom lost the house because she couldn't afford it without my dad. I was looking at a picture of him because my dad was ex-military, and that's a whole different story because military poses a whole different set of issues on people. Yep. And that could have been a lot of what he was dealing with. But I looked at the picture and I was sitting on the floor and I was like, look, it's like, Dad, I love you, but I'm never going to be like you. I'm not going to leave my family. Because at 7, I could already I already knew what that felt like. So it was like, with this brand, we wanted to create something to, celebrate fathers, because quite frankly, like, there are a lot of great fathers out here, but you don't hear about them. Nah. And you don't hear about them. It's like when I tell all of my customers, potential customers, or anybody who's curious about the brand, like, a father, in my opinion, is like the foundation of that home. As long as it has no cracks, you don't hear anything about it. But the moment that it becomes cracking, you start seeing those cracks in the corners of the wall and that house starts to shift, that's when you hear about it. So like in my circumstance, you probably hear about my father because he wasn't there. But if he was there, would you hear as much about him? Probably not, because he's there holding down the fort, doing what he needs to be doing and shepherding and stewarding his family well. So we wanted to create the brand to, celebrate dads. I mean, you look at Mother's Day. People go crazy for Mother's Day. You know what I'm saying? Look at NFL draft, NBA draft. Most of the time, who do you see standing by their sons? Mothers. Mama. Never really dads. So it's like, nah, man, I want something that's going to celebrate us. Like, and if you aren't on your stuff, when you see our merchandise, when you see what we have to offer, when you talk to us, it's going to prick your heart. You may not move on it right away, but it's going to prick you.
Mm-hmm.
Because like a positive, like just a
ripple effect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're putting out an idea. They call these things an egregore, but it's like an idea that lives. It's an energy and it moves on, and it can be infectious.
Inception of people.
Yes, seriously.
Yeah.
Because you have to change the mindset.
Y'all really don't get enough credit or like praise that y'all.
Especially when you're doing it right.
That's part of masculinity too, though.
It is.
Because we're not supposed to need that. We're supposed to just do it anyway.
Because, you just do the labor.
Well, that's good. It's like y'all fighting for yourself. Like, appreciate me. Like, you know?
Yeah, but it's weird. Like you said, as a man and in masculinity, like you aren't supposed to be, because you know what we call people that do that? We call them arrogant, pig-headed, bullish. We got bad words for those people.
Fishing for compliment.
Yeah, especially as a man, you don't do that. You just wait. You do what you do. If someone gives you a compliment, cool. All right, got one. Kudos, nice. But especially with fathers being good, like that point you made that point so well. And I know Chris Rock, he has a joke in his stand-up that he tells where he's like, I'm not going to congratulate you for doing something you're supposed to be doing. Like, hey, man, I stayed out of jail. What are you supposed to stay out of jail? Hey, man, I'm raising my child. You're supposed to raise your child. That's how we think. We're like, well, it's something we're supposed to do. I guess you don't get nothing for that. But you should, because the long-term effects of that adulation, we tend to strive or do things that we get adulation for. That's why as a kid's growing up and they do things proper, you give them some incentive, or you reinforce the behavior, good behavior. You reinforce it by giving them adulation or congratulations or something to show them that, hey, you're doing well. So that's something that you accomplish with your clothing as well, because if you get that for a father and give them that on Father's Day, do you know what that's going to do to them? They get to see that. They get to walk around with it, see it all day. When they look in the mirror, it's going to say dope dad on it. Like that's a positive and very strong message to.
Yeah, they're proud, man. I mean, I kid you not. This past Father's Day, man, I was not prepared.
You weren't?
I was not prepared. Not for the numbers that it did. It was like,
they lit you up.
I was like, oh man, like I think I can get this done for you. It's like, 'cause, a lot of people they think like I have, a screen printer actually print up these shirts that we have. I'm like, nah, man, like that's my daughter and I in the garage, like making this stuff.
Oh, okay. So you actually do all the production.
Equity.
Whoa, you're still doing it.
Yeah, we do the production because I mean, it's probably way off topic, but I had our first run when we first launched the brand. We worked with a screen printer and I hated the quality.
Yep.
I did not like it. So It was like, you know what? I'm bringing this in house. I'm going to control it.
So how do you do it? You actually because little backstory. We used to mess with music back in the day, and Kevin and I have screen printed shirts and all of that stuff with the little home kit. Yeah, we did the jeans.
Oh, that's dope.
So you have like a legit like a press, or you got the little frame, and you're doing them each one by hand and trying to lift it off without smudging it and all that.
So what I did is I looked to go that route with like setting up a actual like screen printing workshop in the garage. I was like, nah, I ain't got the money to be putting into that.
Right, it's a lot.
It's a lot of money, and like I got school to pay for these kids. And my wife is not going to be cool with this. So I got to give credit to my sister-in-law, Whitney. She, because I was so upset with the quality of, those teas that came out, the first ones, she was just like, why don't you just do it yourself? She's like, I was like, what do you mean? She was like, get a heat press. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing a vinyl transfer. She was like, well, I don't think you have to just do vinyl. So then I started researching and I came across the screen print transfer. So it's a screen print that they just print on release paper. So I was like, okay, word, I can do this. So I moved along that route. And I mean, the first screen print transfer company that I worked with, quality was terrible. I mean, it looked better than the original screen print from working with a local screen printer. But after a certain number of washes, things just tore up. I was like, I'm not working with y'all anymore. I found this other company. I've been rocking with them since. Now, like getting my product in it's a little slower, but it's like, man, the quality is A1. You can't beat it. So I started rocking with that, and we press them up right in our garage. Like the arrow that you see on all of our tees, our hoodies, anything, even our hats. Like my daughter, I get her in on that action. I'll lay it down, pull it down. She gets to pull the paper off. So teaching her what it's about too. So
and teaching them that like you can just decide to do something and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like that's a big deal,
Yep.
That teaches them how to stop inertia from keeping them moving forward. Like people don't realize how big that is to see your parents doing things and you watch them create and something come from nothing. That's an important thing, boy. I'm trying to tell you, especially, and then the fact that you're teaching her that business acumen young in her life is going to be something that she's going to take with her from here on out. And you don't have to reteach it. You don't have to worry about her not having that with her. It's almost like the parable with like whether or not you feed a man a fish or if you teach him to fish. Like you want to teach the man to fish. That's the best way to do it, and that's, man, I can't laud on that any more than that. I mean, that's what you want to be doing. And this is another thing. How do you get your hats done though?
All right, so I'm gonna give you the game. I'm gonna give you all the game. So like what I wanted, because I wanted a fully custom hat. I didn't. So like you look at our hats, like it's custom every piece. So I didn't want to just not knocking Richardson hats, but I didn't just want a Richardson hat and then get our logo embroidered on it. I didn't want to do that. So man, I because I had another foray with, starting a brand that I stopped. But telling y'all, hook up with these Alibaba.com.
Yep.
Telling me about that.
Hook up with that. I mean, like our tech packs, I come up with all of that. So like every piece, every fabric, sizing, the stitching that we use, I put all of that in our tech packs and I send it over to them. I have one manufacturer that I found that I actually really like. The first two that I used, quality wasn't great. That's the bad thing about dealing with overseas. Like you're not there to see it. So I deal with the manufacturer out of China. They created it all for me based off of my tech pack. And one thing I do is I always buy the sample. A lot of people, they skip that step. I always sample it because it's like, and it's probably going to cost you like $80 just to get a sample.
It's better than having a box full of crap.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, this is a sunk cost because I want it to look a certain way. I want it to feel a certain way. So with every hat that I do, I order that sample. I got to see this first before I place this bulk order with you. I got to be able to trust that your quality is going to be up to par. And if it's not, then on to the next one. So yeah, that's how we do the hats. I tried to do it here in the US, but it was just so expensive to work with a manufacturer here in the US. It's like, man, so I'm going to have to pay you, $25, $30 a hat to get it made here in the US.
Wow. So you have to sell them for like $50 to $60.
And the secret is most of the time it's just assembled in the US and they get it from China too.
Exactly.
Getting you over the top.
Exactly.
So you might as well go straight to the source.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that is dope, man. Yep. How did you figure this out?
Man, research, man. So I've always been someone who's been, I consider myself a lifelong learner, so I'm always, I'm always trying to figure something out. I'm always researching. Gets on my wife's nerves because like any free moment I got, man, I'm on the phone looking something up or I'm on the laptop looking something up. I'm a little old school, even though I'm just 32. I like to feel the keys.
Yeah, man.
Well, you get to spread out more. You get to explore things, have multiple windows. Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. So
of course I'm old as dirt, but
but that's how I found it out, man. I literally went to Google and was like, custom hats. How do you make a custom hat? Infinite knowledge, resources out there. And I just started sifting through it. And I stumbled upon it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna try it. And it's working.
Man, have you ever thought about putting together like a web training on how to do what you did and selling it on your site?
I have thought about that. And I'll be honest with you guys, like the struggle that I have too is even like with the pricing of our products also. Because I've run across people where they're like, yo, like you should be selling this stuff for more than what you sell it for. I'm like, nah, but my demographic is our fathers, they got kids. They're not trying to bust people over the head. Inflation is real now too. So it's like, I have thought about it, but it's also like, lately when people ask, I've just been giving them the game for free, because I really do want to see people win. I want to see people win. It's like, I don't have to capitalize off of everything. Eventually, I might do that, once I get to a certain point where like my time is much more limited than what it is now. I was like, all right, go down the ebook for $19.99 or whatever.
That's it. Right? You can see how to do this.
Yeah, and then you'll get the game on how to do this. But I have thought about it. It's something that I've written in this journal that I keep because I try to write everything down, man. So if I forget it, I can revisit it.
Smart.
But yeah, it's something I've thought about. It'll probably come in the future.
Where do you see the brand going?
Man, honestly, I want to get I tell my wife all the time, and I want to see this from a numbers perspective. I want to see the brand grow to about 10 grand a month. And when I do that, like, I'm going to have to make some pretty serious decisions about what that looks like for my family and what it looks like for my day job at that point. Like we've already proven that we can have a 5K month. Like we've done that. But I'll be transparent. Like me doing all the printing it myself, that's hard.
5K in business when you are doing all the work is not retirement money.
No, it's not. It's not. So it's like, I just want to see it continue to grow. Like I really just wanted to touch the lives of, more fathers. I want more fathers to learn about it. I want more fathers to be proud to, be dads, and, receive the accolades that they should receive on this side of, heaven. Really, I want the brand to be a mouthpiece for relaying just how important fatherhood is. Like, yeah, you're going to have tough days. Like that's with everything. Now, it's not always going to fall into place. And no, there is not a playbook for this, but like, you're going to be okay. But then also realize that like when you see like another brother with dope dad across the shirt or something else that I'm working on because I'm trying to capture more people than, because some people don't want to wear dope dad across the front of the chest, just being frank. But I wanted them to understand that like, you got a band of brothers who like see you, like we see you and like, let's support each other going forward. So really, I mean, I mentioned I want to see the brand go to 10K a month. And like money is important, but that's not the number one thing for me. Like I just want fathers to get the recognition that they should get because I see a lot of it, especially dudes like me who came from single parent homes where like we're changing the trajectory of our families. You know what I'm saying? So like we made a decision where it's like, look, we're not going to repeat that. It's like I might not have had the blueprint for what a father looked like in my home growing up, but I can piece it together from what I've seen or, and I can drive forward from there. So I just really want to see fathers be uplifted. I want to be able to provide resources, pour it back into the community, man. There are a lot of nonprofit organizations here in the metro area that I want to be able to pour back into. So it's like, look, man, here's these funds, or like, let's collaborate. And every shirt that, sells, y'all keep the profits from it. Like, I want to be able to do that kind of thing. I want to be able to put my money where my mouth is. Like, this is serious for me, and like impacting the lives of children too.
Are you trying to like partner with other organizations like churches or initiatives and grant money, that kind of thing?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
That's like,
yeah. Keep, man. Hey, it seems like you know what you're about to do with that. I'm saying keep pushing on that. And any way which we can help do so to help promote you or push that information out, we definitely will help you with that, man, because what you're doing is extremely positive, and it's something that I know is missing out here. Because, like I said, we've been talking for almost an hour, and I'm telling you, bro, why do we not talk about this? That's weird. It's weird to think about it like that. We don't talk about this stuff at all, and it's a big issue. Especially, it doesn't even matter. Like, it's not even a racial issue. It's just a human thing. It's a human condition issue. But, man, it's about that time. I always tell people, we got to ask you these questions, man. So this is the time we get to do your selfless promotion. You get to make sure that we have people updated on your calendar, what you have going on in your life. But first of all, what current projects are you working on? Are you working on any brand changing, or are you trying to do some initiatives with other folks that you already have set up that you can, let our audience in on?
Yeah. So right now, now that we're going into hoodie season, I'm working on putting out, our hoodies. A lot of it's been delayed because we're trying to buy a house. So, it's been crazy. Yep. But I'm working on the hoodies. I plan on dropping those sometime in October. And like I mentioned, trying to capture a broader audience, because some people, they like what the brand stands for, but they don't want to wear Dope Dad across the front of their chest. Mm-hmm. So I have something along the lines of, Dads Are Vital that I plan on, dropping in 2 different colorways coming up. So I have the samples. I just haven't, placed my bulk order and begun the printing process yet. So I'm working on that. And of course, I got the whole year mapped out. So there'll be a lot of stuff that's
excellent. Well, keep us up to date. Let us know what's popping on that stuff. And also, how can we find you on social media? I must ask.
So you can find us on social media at Raising Zane, at This Is Raising Zane. And remember, the raising is with a Z. We even have a TikTok. Like, I'm terrible at a TikTok.
Oh, wow.
Yo, I got this dope video of my wife and my son. Like, he's trying to step. It's probably going to be the first video that we post on our TikTok channel or Instagram reel, whatever, because I'm terrible at social media. But I do have it. Too. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at This Is Raising Zane.
Excellent. And just so y'all know, I'm going to go ahead and spell out from RAIZING, Zane, ZANE. So This Is Raising Zane, and that's at Instagram. And then the website as well. Yep. And that is raisingzane.com. So if you want to go get you some apparel, buy some cool, dope stuff, please go up there to do so. Anything else from anybody on the panel?
It's a great conversation. I think we need to have another episode with fathers so y'all can deep dive.
Yeah, we might need to do a round table or something for a Father's Day episode. We might need to have you back on, because there's, and I know we're running out of time here, but there have been some billboards that I have been seeing around town that are offensive almost, that are like trying to encourage fatherhood by showing all of this list of things that you're causing by not being there.
Negative reinforcement.
Right. And my wife was like, what the, just based off of her her childhood growing up. It was like, why are you calling me out on a billboard? And, it's, anyway, I feel like a lot of people that are moving in this direction, trying to encourage fatherhood initiative kind of things, are coming at it from a very, what we would call in the activism community, colonizer direction.
Yeah.
Hey, let me show you what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like like you in a totally different direction. And so whatever kind of partnerships you make out in the community are going to have that positivity behind them and actually be encouraging people and accomplishing the right things. So I guess I'm just giving you a little bit more shout out for doing the good things.
No, seriously, man, because I find somebody doing good work like that, we have to pick them up wherever we can. That's what we try to do on our podcast. And I know closing out the day, it's a beautiful Sunday. I want everybody to go out and have a great day. Be nice to the folks around you. Make sure you tell them you love them, you cherish them. And of course, our podcast is for millennials, trying to teach us how to adult better. And this episode is a perfect example of why we need to have these conversations so we can learn how to adult better, be better people, be better men, be better fathers. And so signing out for the Hilltop Glove podcast, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I want to thank our guest, Richard, for coming on here today, explain his brand to us, his love for fatherhood, his issues with fatherhood, masculinity, talking about all these things that we didn't even think we were going to talk about today. That was excellent. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank my co-host for being here with me. Other than that, man, peace, love, soul, man. Appreciate y'all having us today. And we want you to make sure you share our podcast with your friends, your family.
That's it for today's episode of the Hilltop Glove podcast. Make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other platforms. Also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Hilltop Glove.